Welcome back to part 4 of the 5-2 polynomial linear factors in zeros notes. Part 4 is going to teach you how to find the multiplicity. It's a fancy word. I feel really smart saying it. Sorry, I just undid something. Of a zero. So you're going to find the multiplicity of a zero and you will determine what in the world does that even mean to a polynomial. So problem 4, I have a polynomial here for you, and I say, what are the zeros? What are the multiplicities? How does the graph behave at these zeros? So I hope my steps are beneficial to you. For visual learners, it is graphed down here already for you, so hopefully you can make that connection. Let's go ahead and roll. So the first thing I see is it wants me to factor this polynomial. So I will take a GCF out, just like I did in problem 1. This time the GCF is x squared. That will give me x squared, take away 2x, take away 8. This is a quick factoring problem because a is 1. Let's see, we got AC is negative 8, B is negative 2. My magic numbers are negative 4 and positive 2. So we can take that cute little shortcut when A is 1. If you're not comfortable with that, please do the whole grouping or the whole factoring step. That's totally fine. Now we need to see what the steps say now. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve for each factor. Okay, I can do that. So here's my first factor. Set it equal to 0 and solve. So I get x equals plus or minus 0. And you're probably saying, there's no such thing. Okay, well, how about you just roll with it for a second. I'll tell you what that means in a moment. Because remember, when you take a square, you use plus or minus. X minus 4 should be 0. So x, one of my roots is 4. And x plus 2 is 0. So my last x is negative 2. So it appears as if I only have 3 zeros, but in fact, I told you a neat little rule before. I'm thinking if you have x to the fourth, that means you should have 4 zeros. So you might be like, ah, well, she lied to me again. You know, a lot of you sometimes think I lie, but I didn't lie to you, I swear. It just so happens that the 0 of 0 happens twice because it would be quote unquote a positive and a negative 0. So 0 would happen twice. Um, now, let me talk to you about number 3. Or, hey, hey, I got an idea. Maybe some of you really hate what I just did there. Do you agree that x squared is the same as x times x, right? So if it's the same as x times x, you could be like, oh, x, that's why x equals 0 twice. So whichever method you like, that's totally fine with me. I personally just do this and I'm like, oh, okay, so it would technically equal it twice because it's plus and minus, or just twice because it's squared. All right, now that we found our zeros or our roots, let's see what their multiplicities are. So to see what the zero multiplicity is and how it behaves there, you see how many times it happened. All right, let's color code because why wouldn't we? Let's talk about our first zero, which is 0, x equals 0. How many times did that happen? It happened twice, right? So I'm going to write twice. So that means its zero multiplicity is 2 because it's how many times it happens. If you get the same answer twice, it has a zero multiplicity of 2. So how does it behave there? Well, I need you to think, what is x to the 2 power? Well, that's quadratic, isn't it? Which is like a parabola. Quadratic is a parabola. So at x equals 0, it looks like a quadratic. I want you to see that. So at x equals 0, it looks like a quadratic. And look, at 0, sure enough, it definitely does look like a quadratic. It has that parabolic shape. Well, that was pretty nifty. Now let's take a look at the blue, x equals 4. So I have my 0, which is 4. How many times did it happen? It only happened once, right? So it has a 0 multiplicity of 1. How does it behave? Oh, x to the 1 power, x to the 1 power is linear. So it should behave like a line there, right? So at linear, at x equals 4, it's going to behave like a linear line. And if we zoomed in here on 4, wow, it really surely does look like a straight line. And last, we got x equals 2. I wonder what color you guys want me to use at home. Probably yellow is what you were thinking. So I have my 0 of -2. How many times did that happen? Just once. So its multiplicity is 1. Sorry, that's a really messy one. Well, how does x to the 1 power behave? Well, x to the 1 power is linear, so it should behave like a line. So I'm going to say at x equals -2, it acts linear. Let's take a look. Ba, 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 ba. And sure enough, it does look like a straight line there. And if you need another one, I'm not going to do this one, but if you need another one, I've got another one there for you. If you need help during class, we'll do that. Let's take a look at part 5 because it's going to be short and sweet and to the point. Part 5 is finding the relative minimum or and maximum. Good news, we already did this. So the relative maximum is because it doesn't always, there's like, see this max right here that I highlighted in orange? Everybody see that? That's just a relative maximum. In other words, relative to this area, it's the max. And then you guys see this one, this minimum that I'm going to highlight in blue. That's called a relative minimum. That's because relative to this area, it's the bottom point. But we already learned how to do these back in the 5-1 activity. Activity, there you go. So please feel free to look back at those notes if you want to. I'm not going to go over that again because I'm sure you don't want me to. You use your calculator, put your equations in, find the turning points, decide if they're mins or maxes, and write them as a point. All right. If you want to give that a shot, I will just tell you the answers because again, we've done this, so I don't feel like it would be to anybody's benefit to do it again. I have a QR code if you're at home and you want to use a website because you don't have a TI-84. You do need to use the TI-84 during homework though, or during your test, excuse me. If anybody did this, you should get a relative max at -4 and 80, and you should get a relative min at 2 and -28. And I guess that's really all I have to say about that because that's something we've gone over before. Part 6 will be its own video just in case people need a little break, take a breather, come on back.